what we can talk today is that something happened yesterday. Well, something happened yesterday. Okay, there was a Chinese supposed to be journalist. Okay, I call it a red guard. A red guard have a rebel. Okay, in the UK meeting. I would like Miss Mercedes to tell the name of the meeting and what happened briefly.
Just tell you just the kind of meeting. I don't want to talk about what happened. So, all right, it was on Sunday. The London-based NGO Hong Kong Watch and Britain's Conservative Party Human Rights Commission co-organized a forum that centered on the erosion of elements such as freedom, the rule of law, and autonomy in Hong Kong. Okay?
Yes. So when the chairman of the meeting gave a speech, he actually said that I pro-China. I like Chinese people and hope that China and the Chinese people will go. I don't know the original.
He said actually it was the co-chairman of the Human Rights Watch. Now, he said that he's neither pro-China nor anti-China. I want China and its people to succeed. I am a critic of the current Chinese government and the way it treats its people, but I am pro-China towards the country. And I believe it is in both China's and Britain's interest for Hong Kong to succeed, he said. It is therefore in all our interests for both China and Britain to honor our commitments under the Sino-British Joint Declaration and ensure that one country, two systems is upheld. And of course he was referring to the policy from 1997 that's supposed to be continuing until 2047.
Okay. Soon after that, a Chinese supposed to be journalist, a lady, and shout at him. Okay, stood up and shout at him, "You are a liar! You separated my country! You're not even Chinese! All the rest are traitors!"
Yeah.
So after that, she did not even bother to raise hands, okay? He just stood up and accused and called the names.
There's video. The video's out there. Don't look for the little 38-second one. Look for the one that lasts over a minute, and you'll see the whole thing in context more.
Yeah. It had a video from beginning to the end, everything. And someone was nicely trying to remove her and touch her, so please come down. And he just... Okay, for that part, the police is going to handle it, okay?
Yeah.
So we don't make comment of that side because that is a criminal case.
Well, it's assault. She was arrested for suspicion of assault.
Yeah, but today we don't want to talk about that part because that part will be taken care of by the police. We're only talking about the civilized part.
What was civilized about it?
Okay.
Oh, about her behavior anyway.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, why this happened? Why? I will give three aspects to give explanations. What I think, what I understand, why this could happen now. Okay, it's one. China has this huge propaganda to tell their own people, our country is so great, it's overtaking US very, very soon. So we said, great, my country. So make the Chinese people really feel that we are going to rule the whole world. Okay, there is a similarity between President Trump and Chairman Xi Jinping. They both want to make their own country great again. Okay, the difference is US want to withdraw from the world. Trump want to make US great again by themselves. Okay, forget about the rest of the world, not globalization, not other countries. We do our own. But Xi Jinping, on the contrary, he want to expand China to the whole world, to make China great again. So Xi Jinping is working very hard to make himself the leader of the whole world. So that made the Chinese people think, everywhere is China. We govern everybody. So we have the right. Okay? So this is the first thing. The second thing is why the lady did that, the way she did. She could, as a journalist, she could have raised her hand she could have used the opportunity to put her point in, right? She could raise hands and says, when she asking questions, she can put her idea in to let people know what she is talking about, what she thinks.
Well, yeah. Usually there are questions. The press is welcome to ask questions, and they're chosen. They go in. They have to wait until one person is speaking, and the person is chosen to ask the question.
Yeah.
You don't speak over each other. You don't scream at people.
Yeah.
You wait.
Okay. So why? Because this is a typical Chinese way of doing things when they are educated from the Cultural Revolution. Okay. So I talk democracy later. We'll only talk about why she behaves like that. It's because during the Cultural Revolution, okay, if you have heard about that, that was a period of time for China have a total freedom, total democracy, beyond everything, because there was no government, no government at all. Everyone has a right to speak, okay? But the way they did is that I have a loudspeaker facing on your face. Then you have a loudspeaker face me back. Then I have a bigger one. Then we fight together. You have to hold it for me. You have to. No one can hear anyone. So, to our democracy is that the voice higher wins. Who has the bigger voice, higher voice, who wins?
The louder voice.
Yeah, okay. So this is all happens in Chinese arguments. If you see the Chinese people argue, they always raise the voice. Even the spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if they raise the voice, they feel that we are stronger. Wow. So this is what we understand democracy and the speech of freedom. Okay, and the third thing is that. She is a journalist, right? What is a journalist supposed to do in the meeting?
Listen, and then ask questions and report on what was said.
Yeah, supposed to listen, take notes, ask questions, and report. This is normally, journalists do. But China has no free press.
No, they don't.
Okay.
And they also don't have freedom of speech.
See? So this lady is working for CCTV, China Central TV Station, means the government, town of the government. Okay? So in a way, she's not exactly a journalist.
Well, okay. First off, you have to look at where they were. They're in the UK, where this happened. In the UK, freedom of speech and a free press have a certain definition. Now, China's definition of those things is not the same as UK's. So when they send a representative and they say that this person is press or journalist, it's not the same. They're not on the same playing ground. They're not playing by the same rules. Okay? And that's actually, China makes up its own rules. So they have their own set of rules, but they don't have freedom of speech and they don't have free press. So any journalist coming out of China as someone who's going back to report in China are not going to be what the West considers a journalist.
Okay.
It's not possible for them to be that.
I'm not here to say who is correct or who is wrong, or right or wrong. I mean, explain why she behaves like that, because she is actually stand for the government point, right?
Well, she only has one way to report, which is pro-China.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Why she got so angry, got so personal, stood up? Because she stand for the government. She's not.
No matter what.
Yes.
No matter what.
I mean, her job is not to report things.
No.
Her job is going there to make the government point to be heard,
And
and she needs to shout to not get hurt.
well, actually, one thing that I noticed as well is all of the articles were saying that she's 48. And so we had someone who, I don't know who it was. I assumed that it's a younger Chinese person. And he or she was saying that this is only the older generation doing this. This person at 48 is right in between the older, Cultural Revolution and the new China's children, or whatever, however you want to say it. So it seems to me she's still not understanding how to interact with the West.
Yeah. And now I come back to talk about a little bit of democracy. Okay, the Chinese people, we don't have a democracy system in China, and I don't know how much other people understand democracy. I don't know very much myself before I went out of China. And in 1989, we had a democracy movement in Beijing, crackdown on Beijing, that got all the tanks was on the Tiananmen Square. I think you can remember that picture, okay?
Actually, Tiananmen Square is much more famous for that incident than it is for what it was originally made for.
Okay.
So it's synonymous now. Tiananmen Square is synonymous with that.
Okay, so Tiananmen Square, but actually for those group of people who wanted democracy, turned out to be, they did not really understand what democracy was about. So most of these students, they came to the US. After they came to the US, they realized they know so little about democracy. Okay, so to these Chinese people and all these journalists, so-called, and they think that the democracy, freedom of speech is like I can do whatever I want, say whatever I want to say, and whatever way I want to say, right? So they use this system, they misuse this system. Okay, and just imagine the same situation, same scenario, if
Fine. No one can hear it. It's you. But look at the jets. Dang. Oh, very cool. Look at that. Oh, they're perfect.
Okay.
Oh, our flyboys are good.
Okay.
Sorry. It's impressive. It's impressive.
Just imagine in China, the People's Congress Hall, any small meeting even, any journalist, okay, even without foreign journalists, only Chinese people, anyone can stood up, point the fingers to the chairman doing that.
In China?
In China, will be immediately moved away and put in jail. But
restrained and the whole thing.
Yeah, if it's a foreign journalist, without raised hand and stood up and accuse the chairman, will be removed and will be taking the visa. There'll be a big problem for this.
Has that ever happened? I'm sure that's happened.
I don't go get that.
Well,
again.
no, I just was curious.
Yeah, okay.
Because,
I'm just saying that is not possible happening in China, okay? But they enjoy that freedom, and that they think they can do whatever they want because it is safe to do it in UK. Because
I was thinking a foreign journalist, or even Chinese journalist who does that in China is much braver than she was. She's not being brave. She was arrogant. Sorry.
Yeah.
But she behaved very arrogantly.
Yeah, she did that in UK because doing that in UK is safe. The same like the family did that in Sweden, because in Sweden it's safe to do that.
Yeah.
But if in China, they would be in deep shit trouble.
So why do people do this type of thing? Why do they leave their country and then behave so barbarically? If in their country they don't behave that way, I'm just curious. Because it doesn't command any kind of respect. It seems like they're waiting and holding back all of this, and then when they get out, that's their idea of freedom, is to be able to act a little crazy, or maybe a lot crazy. And they seem like, I don't know, do they think that we all walk around screaming at each other all day? Do we walk around touching each other and screaming and suing each other? I'm
talking about the worst part now. Okay, the the incident happening in Sweden, that's an individual.
Yeah.
You cannot say the whole Chinese people behave like that. Okay, we can say that's a very bad family.
Yeah.
It's okay?
That was a bad incident, and
Yeah. And this time, this journalist, we can also say, oh, we just happen to be a very bad-tempered journalist.
yeah, but she was handpicked by the government.
That is the problem. The Chinese government has stood up by the lady and making a story, say, when she was asking a question and she was stopped and physically, whatever, you can check what the Chinese government say.
Oh, yeah, they're saying that they treated her wrong or something.
Yeah,
Huh? CCTV, not the Chinese government, but it is the Chinese government.
No. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs also made the same.
Again.
Yeah.
They just
claim.
seem to be constantly, they're not even trying to put out fires. Like what we call that in here is that, when trouble is created all over, everybody's trying to go and put out all these little fires everywhere. They don't try to put them out. They try to turn it and say, you started the fire, not us. Now you apologize.
Then they ask the UK to apologize, to interfere with Chinese business.
Again.
Okay. Now, let's say, first of all, did UK interfere with Chinese business?
No. It was actually a pact that involved the UK.
So it was a close meeting for the party only, and they're talking about agreement signed between China and the UK. So it's not only China's problem, right?
Yeah, it was actually, the UK was involved because they're the ones who handed over possession or, I guess, control of Hong Kong in 1997 to China. And this was the pact or agreement that was signed. Okay, and it was one of the I don't even know, I can't think of the word, but they have to uphold this. Okay, and so they were talking about are they still upholding it, because they're seeing erosion of it. They're analyzing it. They were analyzing it so that they can then, of course, if China is not upholding their side of the agreement, then they're going to call them on it, and there may be some kind of action taken to protect Hong Kong.
And in recently, there is one Chinese word is frequently used in the Chinese media or Chinese people. That is a 霸气. Okay, 霸气. What is 霸气 in English? I checked the dictionary. It's overbearing. It's a very good and positive word used in China now. How is the word in the West?
No, overbearing is not positive, it's negative. It's a negative personality trait. An overbearing parent can make for very confused or even emotionally damaged children in Western culture.
But China use this word as a positive word, and they are so proud of them can be overbearing to other nations now. And this is the international stage. Each must play a part, and China played a very, very good role to show the whole world how they want to rule the world if they're going to take over US.
Really, because overbearing personalities, that is a indicator of instability in a person's life, in their emotional state in the West. So that's how we see that. If someone is overbearing, they're very insecure. So they're overcompensating. They're very basically, I think insecure would be the biggest reason for being so overbearing and controlling. They're control freaks. A mom that's a control freak is overbearing.
Okay.
This kind of thing. I'm just trying to give a context and the definition of how.
Why everything we think is good is bad in your country?
I think that China got distracted or or thrown off the track that they were on by the Cultural Revolution, and their society kind of got really, really confused and thrown for a tailspin because they were on track. I mean, come on, all you have to do, obviously when we moved in here, I looked up all kinds of things, including feng shui, how to properly, the color of the door should be for the face, the way it faces, all these things for positive energy. And where did that go? Where did that thought go of wanting peace and harmony? Now it's just they want the stuff for good luck, for money, and power, but not for kind of centering yourself and being balanced. Balance, I thought, was key.
Okay, let me bring the topic back to the instant. Just imagine the same thing happened in USA. Okay, a journalist suddenly stood up, accused the chairman, and called names of the audience, and then smash somebody violently, physically.
She didn't watch the video. She didn't smash anything on his head, but she did slap him twice.
Yeah, and of course she was taken by the UK policeman. What will that happen in USA?
Would it happen in the US?
Yeah, because if the same thing happened in USA, what the US people will handle this?
How would the US people would most likely handle it the same way. I think they would handle it very similarly, where she was first kind of restrained. They just, and then she started screaming that, oh, you have no right to, but she was acting crazy, so they were just kind of restraining her lightly. And then the security came and handled it, and then the police come and handle it. But people, I really think that it's important that, because we're not in government, so we don't have to deal with the government people. But in everyday stuff, we have to learn how to deal with this.
Okay, but don't worry. It will not happen in USA.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah, you were mentioning something about this, actually.
Because US government have decided to classify those people not as media, not as press.
So they're not press and journalists. They don't get the press badges.
They are classified as government representatives.
Well, that makes complete sense. As it's exactly what I was just saying earlier, is that since China doesn't have freedom of speech, they can't have a free press. So their idea of press is actually not the same as the US's, just like it's not the same as the UK's. Yeah. So there are no journalists coming to just report. They're only coming to be a presence for the government of China.
Yes.
Because there's no free press. There's no press, that means.
There's no press. There's only propaganda team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So US, right recently, I think the Trump administration did that. Okay. And I think Australia followed that too. Okay.
It's a good idea. Because then it cuts down on the disruptions. I mean, they're just sending basically a propaganda team who have no decorum and no shame and just scream. Because the West doesn't look favorably upon that. I don't care how loud you yell. In the West, you're going to come off as a fool. And people are going to do the absolute opposite and just go, click, this person is belligerent and makes no sense. And they're not going to listen to anything you say. And everything that you do manage to get heard is going to seem just from an unstable person. So you're not going to believe it.
Yeah. I don't know if you are aware or not, that recently Chinese newspaper, the government newspaper, bought 4 pages of newspaper advertisement at Iowa State.
Iowa.
Iowa.
Didn't we talk about this the other day? I think we might have mentioned it. Iowa, and the 4 pages and the ads.
Yeah, ads page spot put on articles, put on their own propaganda. So it means that China is not press. Okay, it's a propaganda team. Trump administration has classified them as a government representative. So they are not going to give press a badge or invitation or whatever in those also meetings.
Yeah.
And Australia followed it. I'm just wondering when UK is going to follow that.
Well, I think this is going to be a great encouragement for them to follow.
And the rest of the world.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous. Come on. I mean, obviously, a really good journalist has the courage to ask some serious questions and create shouldn't be afraid to create controversy when they see the opportunity. I mean, that's a journalist's job, and we really kind of romanticize that in the West, a journalist's job, to break stories and not be afraid, and but they do it in such a way where they'll be taken seriously. And where actually, if they're asked the question in front of a whole bunch of people and somebody is corrupt that's being asked the question, the blood should drain from their face and they should get upset, not the reporter. Yeah.
Okay, now finally I wanted to say something to my motherland, to China and the Chinese government. If we really want to be one of the members of the international community, and we have to behave like everybody else, we must understand the rules, the cultural custom, everything, and we must understand the true democracy before we can get in. And every day you quarrel, you fight, you raise your voice, and you want to get any friends. And you just make the whole world hate us more and more.
I don't hate you.
See? We make up good. Okay. Cut. The rest is personal. The rest is personal. Okay, the wind is blowing, and it's very, very comfortable here. It's beautiful weather.
It is.
And we do have problems. We do have problems with each other.